Well, good morning, good morning. I am coming to you from my car office again today, clearly. I'll try and hold the phone still. Um, so I am in the office working, and think that the my car is the best place to come. I've got the window cracked open. So last time I was in the car, I was like roasting hot by the end of it, even though the windows were wide open. But it's cooler today. That's obviously indicated by my nice cozy jumper. So anyway, here we are. Wednesday at 10. I'm on time this time. Um, Life stuff. So I'm so tired. So I would just like to say that if I am rambling more than usual, then please forgive me. Worked until about 1:30 in the morning the last two nights, and my brain is a bit mush. And for some reason, I didn't finish my fizz stick that's sitting on my desk. It's just sitting on my desk waiting for me. That's very silly of me. Um, and the rambling starts. Right, so I was going to talk about something else. Not that I ever really plan my life chat section very much anyway, but literally right before I pressed go live on this, I got a text from my best friend saying, big hugs on what could be a weird day for you. And it took me a minute. I was staring at it going, I mean, I always like big hugs. I'm never going to say no to that, but why is today a weird day? And I had to think about why today could be a weird day. And then it occurred to me that that is because today is August 31st. August 31st would have been my 9-year wedding anniversary. And my best friend, who A, is a very considerate, thoughtful person anyway, but B, has the same anniversary as me. It's one of the things we bonded over is we got married on the same day. So she definitely remembers the day. But the fact that I couldn't remember right away, is something that I want to talk about. And it's not that I had completely forgotten altogether. So over the past couple weeks, right up until yesterday and today, the fact that my old anniversary was coming up has like kind of popped in and out of my consciousness. But the fact that it's popped in and out of my consciousness is something I want to talk about because 2 years ago, so my first post-separation anniversary was a big deal. It was actually, I was dreading the day. I was not looking forward to it. It was this big monumental day in my head. I was to my coach at the time, and she had been divorced for a few years, and she had told me that over time this day would lose its significance. And I was like, oh, I really want to believe you, but right now I just don't. Like, this is such a hard day. And it was also hard because although we'd been separated for 8 months by this point, my ex moved out in the January, and it was, August by this point. I hadn't said anything about it publicly, so like close friends and family knew, but I hadn't put a word of it on social media. I hadn't like told the wider world. And then must have been a few days before our anniversary, my ex's partner posted some pictures of them on social media publicly. And that was kind of the like, oh, this is going public now. So I used our anniversary kind of as the conduit to make this announcement that we were separated. So there was a lot in that for me too, of like, okay, I'm gonna tell the world. And it was a big thing. And then last year it had faded. It was still a pretty big deal, but it had certainly faded. And I can't even remember what I did last year. Because the first year I made sure that I was surrounded by a bunch of my friends, like all my NCT friends. We got together and did some stuff, and I made sure that I was busy with plans so that it wouldn't, I didn't want to spend all day crying, and but I made sure I was busy. And then last year, like I said, it wasn't as big of a deal, but it was still noticeable. And now, 2 years on, like I said, I got this text from my best friend, and had to be like, what's weird about today? And I'm telling you all this to say that it really, really does fade. I am not a believer in time heals everything, because I actually think that time can actually just like solidify and make things awful and like bury these wounds deep inside of you. So time by itself does not heal things. If you think about it like a broken bone, if you break your arm, you're not just gonna like let it stay broken and go, oh, time will heal my arm. I mean, it will, but it, could heal back in this like deformed way that it's not meant to be in, and it's not going to work the best way it's supposed to work. Like at some point your bone will heal itself, but probably not in an optimal way. And I think that emotional wounds are the same, and that time will cover it up, and you might not feel it as acutely all the time, but unless you actually do the work to heal these emotional wounds, then things are still going to be suboptimal. So I'm just opening the window a bit more. Sun came out. So where's it going with all that? Oh, yes. So sorry, I told you I was tired. So 2 years on, it's not that time on its own has healed this wound, but obviously I have put in lots and lots of work to get to this point, as well as the time passing. So the two things do kind of go hand in hand. And like I said, I'm telling you this so that it is possible, because like I said, 2 years ago, I was like, oh, this day is going to be like the biggest day, and forever I'm always going to think about this day, and it's going to bring all kinds of horrible emotions. And now it's just a day, like any other day. And actually I can look back on it. This timing lines up well, because you might have seen that I was at a wedding this weekend, and it was my first wedding as a single woman, my first wedding post-divorce. And the ceremony brought up some thoughts as well. But they weren't like deep, horrible, painful things by any means. It was more that I was sitting in the ceremony and thinking, this is interesting. And it gave me a chance to kind of just reflect on when my ex and I said our vows 9 years ago, and what they meant to us then, what wedding vows mean to me now, and it really gave me that chance to reflect on it. And it's the same sort of feeling in me now of like, okay, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to reflect. I do not think that for me that like, I don't look back on my wedding day and think, oh, we didn't mean any of those things we said, or, he didn't mean what he said, or I didn't mean what I said. We meant it. We meant every word of it. But life happens. Nothing that you say during wedding vows means that you get to like skip over all the hard parts of life, or that circumstances don't change, or feelings don't change, or people don't change. But it just was a great chance to think about all of those things. Let me just think on that. I should have brought a drink with me. This is a tea break, isn't it? And I have no tea. Is there anything else I want to say on that side of things? I don't think so. Those are mainly my reflections. That, 2 years after announcing it publicly, this is now then my third post-separation anniversary that would have been, and things are really, well, I was going to say things are okay. Things are way, way more than okay, honestly. My wedding day was one of the best days of my life. Like, it was so much fun and surrounded by so many people we love, and it was truly like the greatest day. And also today is one of the greatest days, I'm so happy post-divorce, so happy with how things are turning out, and so excited about what's yet to come. So all of those things can be true at the same time, I guess is what I'm saying. The wedding day can be great, we can mean all of our vows, and we can still get here at this position 2.5 years later after separation and be so freaking happy with where we're at and where we're going. So if that resonates with you at all, just let me know that this is possible. Okay. Oh, it's getting really hot. Note to self, car conversations not the best. Okay. Anyway, on to some questions. So I'm going to start with the one that I got this morning, which was about, let me see, how do I word this? So the question was about, we women are strong, independent, and, capable women. And we've spent a lot of time, A, figuring out for ourselves, B, being told, you can be anything you want to be, you can do anything you want to do, being, strong, independent, capable women. And I know I feel this deep inside me, this, fierce independence. But the question was, can that be true? And can it be true that we rely on men to do some stuff for us, or we rely on other people to do some stuff for us? But specifically, in the context of a relationship was this question, and the example was, pumping up car tires. So her tires need filling up, and she said, I don't really know how. Every time I do it, I end up letting the air out of the tires, and my husband does this job for me. Like I let my husband fill up the tires. Is that a problem? Is that wrong? What's wrong with that? And she said she feels almost a bit of shame around like admitting she doesn't know how. And how does that marry up with this strong, independent woman? And I freaking love this question because it's something that I have wrestled with. And the answer is it can definitely be both. So I think there's a huge difference between knowing yourself, what you're capable of, what you're capable of learning, what you're capable of doing if you need to, and trusting that if it absolutely came down to it, and like you were at a petrol station and your tire was flat and there was literally nobody else around who could help you, do you think you could probably fill up your tires enough that you could get home? Or do you think that you could find a way to get your tires filled up? Could you call somebody? Could you do something? Yes, I absolutely believe that you are 100% capable of doing what you need to do. That is very, very different than having to do it all yourself. And I think that this is actually something, like I said, like with my fierce independence that I've been working on, is almost trying to overcome that need to do it all myself. So there's a difference between knowing I got me and then having to like prove myself by having to do it all. There's no need for that. It is always okay to ask people for help and to get support and to receive support. And that includes in a marriage, that includes with pumping up your tires or whatever else it may be. I don't think that there's any shame in that. There is never any need to do it by ourselves. And I often talk about, like sisterhood and asking for help and receiving support, but that does not need to be just from other women. Like getting my girlfriends to help babysit my kids sometimes is no different than asking your husband to pump up the tires in your car. It's receiving support. It's not like it's only okay if it's sisterhood support, but it's not okay if it's masculine support. No, both are totally okay and advised, because doing it all yourself is just a one-way ticket to burnout. So I think, like I said, the difference there is knowing that it's okay to receive support. And maybe, so in your case, it's car tires, which is going to be, I'm going to say, like stereotypical male job. But maybe it's that, in your relationship, your husband is the one who does all of the, whenever there's like, a hole in your socks that needs fixing, or, a rip in the clothes, and your husband's the one who he's the one who can sew. So he sews everything, which, some might consider the more stereotypical female jobs. But maybe in your house, that's the way it's divvied up. There's no like right or wrong answer in terms of how housework gets divvied up, how life jobs, life admin gets divvied up within a relationship, within life in general. And getting support wherever it comes from, whoever it comes from, there's never any shame in that. None whatsoever. So I am fully on board with, and it's something that I actually want to work on in my next relationship, is allowing myself to receive more support, because I think I have been so like, no, I can do it by myself. And then I never let people help me. And then I get upset when people don't help me. And then I'm like, oh, nobody ever, like, how come I have to do it all myself and nobody ever shows up for me? Well, it's because I've spent so long insisting on doing it on my own, or insisting that nobody else can do it right. So of course nobody wants to do it. So for me, it's a big thing that actually I want to like let more support into my life. So yeah, absolutely. You can be a strong, independent, capable woman and have things where you're like, I just don't know how to do this. For me, barbecuing. I don't barbecue, which means I haven't had a barbecue in the 3 summers now that I have been a single woman. I've got a rusty old barbecue in the garage that I've tried to give back to my ex. He doesn't want, because it's rusty and old. I'm just not gonna barbecue. Would I be capable of it if I wanted to learn how? I'm sure I could. I've, basically done everything else I've wanted to learn how to do, except whistle. I can't whistle. But I have no desire to learn how to barbecue. I'm not saying it has to be a man job. It just has to not be a Lindsey job. And if I hopefully find a partner who does like to barbecue, great, because I don't want to do it. I like to eat barbecues. I like to host barbecues. I just don't want to do the barbecuing. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay. Then the next question, I've got 2 other ones, and they're both quite big. So I'm going to have to try and whiz through them. But one is about sex. And the question was whether sex is more in your head for men or for women, and if it's different. And this one really made me pause. I mean, my first thought was like, well, I don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know the answer. I'm just going to put my window down again some more. Hang on. Okay. So is sex more in your head for men or women? I think from all the work I've been doing around this and my journey on sex and learning from people who I would consider like sex experts, like sex coaches and other women who this is like their field of work, is the main answer is that sex should be in your body, not in your head. And that this is a big stumbling block that a lot of people, more so women, but also men, but more so women, is that we think of sex as a head thing. And really, sex needs to be a body thing. That doesn't mean the two are not connected, because they very much are. But so often, we spend so much of our time up in our head about it all, whether that's like, you know, you're still thinking about a million other things, like your mental load, your day at work, the dishes you need to get done, are the kids dressed, you know, are the backpacks packed for school tomorrow, like, all the things are in your head. And then it's like, oh, wait, it's sex time? Okay, quick, think about sex now. And you're trying to get your brain to like swap just like that. And it just doesn't happen that fast. And your body then is like rapidly trying to catch up. So you're starting the sex stuff and your body's like, whoa, what the is happening? Like I was in like get shit done mode and now you're like touching me and you want me to feel pleasure and you're like, what? And your brain's going, come on, it's sex time now. Come along, keep up. And the pieces aren't all flowing together. And your body's trying to go from 0 to 60. Like, you know, it was not in sex mode. And now you're like, sex time. Whereas a lot of this work around like bringing pleasure into your everyday life, embodying that feminine energy and bringing more of that, the pleasure, the feel good into your life, is so that you're not starting from zero, so that you're used to your senses operating. You're used to feeling that breeze coming in the window, feeling the sunshine on my arm. I'm used to feeling pleasure. I'm used to the smell that fresh cut grass, and like my body's like, okay, yeah, I'm primed for pleasure now because I've been letting it in all of these little ways throughout the day. Then when it comes time for sexy time, you're not starting from zero. You're starting at 30, 40, and that gap up to like, you know, full out orgasm, sexual pleasure is a much smaller gap. But that's all about letting your body do the feeling. So it's surrendering to that feeling of pleasure. It's surrendering to all of your senses in the moment. Instead of staying stuck up here going, this is supposed to feel good. This is supposed to feel good. Let me move my hand there. Let me, do that. That's not how the sex happens. The sex happens in your body. The pleasure happens in your body. And it's about letting go of the need for your brain, dropping that into your body and feeling what's happening and feeling the pleasure and letting that pleasure in. That's how I see all these pieces going together. Is it's a body thing really, whereas we spend so much time up here and that's what then stops the bodily pleasure. How do men view it? Like I said, not a man, not entirely sure, but I think that men spend a lot less time up in here and they're straight down into their body. You know, it is more about what physically feels good to them. They don't tend to spend as much time freaking out up in their heads. Definitely not the case all the time. Absolutely, men can get up in their heads about it, and then that can cause problems too. But I think that in general, men have, they've got more connection going on down there, and it is a more physical thing, whereas women need to get out of the brain and make it a physical thing. And not make it. That implies forcing it, which is absolutely against the point, because putting the pressure on also kills sexual pleasure. Allowing it to be a physical thing should be what I say. It's that leaning back and allowing your body to feel the pleasure. So there's that. Okay, last question. I'm rattling through at the end here, aren't I? The last question that I had was about, and again, this is a huge one. I'm not sure I can answer in a few minutes, but it was about how risky is it to leave a secure job and start your own business, start your own thing. I mean, what a question, especially considering that I have 4.5 weeks left of my so-called secure job, my corporate paycheck. I've got 4.5 weeks left, and on September 30th, I'm walking away, and that is it. And then there's no more paychecks coming in. It is me and this coaching business. It is me and you. And we, I'm I'm doing it. And I know so many people who have. I mean, for a few years now, and I've had friends who have like left their jobs and have no job to go to. I've been so celebrating them. It's been like, oh my God, this is like the bravest, most exciting thing you could do. Like, how amazing that you are like jumping into the unknown because you know that there is something better out there for you, and that you've got to do what really lights you up and fills you with pleasure, and do your own thing. Oh, did I not tell you? Okay, yes, I maybe hadn't made this announcement publicly. I'm leaving my job. So yeah, that's yeah, it's very exciting. And actually, come to think of it, the woman who asked the question might not know that either. So whereas I was thinking this is like, you know, aimed at what I'm going through, you guys might not have all known that. So I think it is risky. I think it's very, very exciting. Like I said, I've been cheering my friends on for a few years now, being like, oh my gosh, this is the most exciting thing that you could possibly do. Like, how cool and brave and amazing. And to do it, to make this okay, like, you know, what I've been going through with all of this, and what I've had to, you know, before I handed my notice in, while I've been working out my notice period, as we're coming up now to the end of it, I just go back over and over and over to, I trust myself. I trust this is going to be okay. I absolutely trust that I am not going to, you know, we're not going to lose my house. We're not going to like run out of food. I absolutely trust that we are going to have enough money to live and do what we need to do, and I will feed my children and take care of them and house them. And I trust myself. So whenever I start to be like, but there's not going to be a paycheck, but there's going to be money. There absolutely is going to be money. And if there's not money coming in the way that I wanted to, if there's not enough coming in for my coaching income, I will find money to come in a different way. There is no way that I am going to, you know, let anything bad happen to us in this sense. So by having that deep, deep trust of myself, that is what's making this leap possible for me. Yes, I have also done some practical steps in terms of I've been saving up to this. So I've got some savings set aside to cover, you know, until the business income gets up to where I want it to be. You know, there's been other steps to put in place, and it wasn't a snap decision for me because, you know, I am the sole earner of my house. There's only one grown up. And so it is a big deal, but it absolutely 100% feels like the right move. So I think it's the same for anybody. It's a mix of getting the practical steps put in place, getting, you know, some lead up time, making sure that you've got some practical steps, whatever, and that can mean very different things, but making sure that your nervous system has a bit of security. One way that my coach described it to me was like, yes, skydiving is all well and good, but you are not going to jump out of that airplane without even checking if you have a parachute, are you? Like, you're going to make sure you've got a parachute in place. You're probably going to test it to make sure that it works, you know, do some checks on it. And then you're going to jump out of the plane. It's still going to feel scary. I mean, I've never actually skydived. I imagine it's still going to feel scary, but you're doing it knowing that you've got as much protection in place as you can in a way that feels good to you. So this to me is similar in that I am not just jumping from the plane. I have checked my parachute a few times, you know, it's all well secured. And then I'm going to jump from the plane. So, and then, like I said, it comes out to that trusting that it's going to be okay. It's absolutely going to be fine, however it works out. It might look exactly the way I've got this big vision planned. I've got big vision planned, you guys. Maybe it'll look exactly like that. Maybe it'll look completely different. But that feeling that I'm holding on to of this is how it's going to feel when I'm up and running and doing my own thing, and this is how it's going to feel when I totally trust myself, or just how it feels now when I totally trust myself, those are the bits to hang on to. So I think doing what you feel called to do and doing these big things, you know, that is going to light you up inside, and sharing that with the world, because everybody benefits when you feel so lit up. Those make all the difference in the world, and to me that's worth the risk. And honestly, the other thing I would say is that, you know, and I think your question was phrased as like leaving a secure job, and that is how loads of people think about it, but honestly, you know, corporate jobs are not the security that they once were, or that people tend to think of them as. You know, I've always felt like my job was secure, and I work for a very, very fast growing business. It's been growing fast the whole 7 years I've worked here. So I've always said like it's very secure, but even that could change at any given moment. You know, and I think COVID will have shown us that like the safe and secure world that we know can change like that. So, you know, what does secure mean to you? To me, knowing that I've got myself no matter what feels more secure than relying on the big men with the paycheck to hand out my money every month. So yeah, that's where I fall on that. I didn't realize I hadn't told you guys this. This is fun. This is exciting. 4.5 weeks. But on that note, I have a lot of work to do in the next 4.5 weeks, so I better go back inside and do it. So I'm going to wrap up the same way I always do by saying, if any of this, you know, leave me comments, send me messages, let's carry on the conversation. I absolutely love talking about all this stuff. If you want to dive into any of this any deeper, would love to do that with you. So I'm still offering the single sessions for £155. The link is in my bio. You can just click right on there and book that straight away. I'm offering the mini package, so 3 individual sessions for £444. Send me a message if you want that link. And then there's the 3-month all-inclusive where you get the Voxer access in between and 3 video calls a month for 3 months, and that is £2,000. Again, send me a message if you want that. So those calls will start in October, but you can send the payment plans, although time is a-ticking. It's almost September tomorrow. But we can work that out too. So yeah, happy, thrilled, overjoyed to dive into any of that and support you in anything that might have come up as a result of this conversation. I will be here next Wednesday doing the same thing because this is what I do now and I freaking love it. So watch for my stories on Tuesday for the little question box to ask your questions, or just send me a message at any time, and totally that's fine too. And then I will go live next Wednesday. Share this with your friends. By the way, I never end up with that, but actually, can I say that if you think that anybody else wants to hear this, or if you enjoy these tea break chats, and you think that, like, you know, anybody else who would be interested, please, please, please share them. It would mean the world. So, you know, tag people in the comments, just send it to them, tell people to come to my page. Like, the more that you can share with people, then the more people get to come join this. That would be really cool too. I would really, really appreciate it. So that's another way that you can support me without having to spend any money too, which always helps. So yeah, that's all I've got. Sending you lots of love. Happy Wednesday, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.